The mains examinations are drawing close, and at this juncture, on behalf of Dogra's IAS Academy, I wish to put up a daily tip for those preparing for the mains. I will try to cover at least one topic or maybe a couple of topics every day so that one, it will help you prepare those topics, and second, it will also give you an idea of how to identify expected questions and how to collect material, organize them, and express them. Today, I am taking up a very important topic, that is capital punishment. The topic of capital punishment has always been important. This is a controversial issue which comes up again and again for discussion in our society. And questions related to this in some way or the other have been asked again and again. The question of capital punishment again became active when some cases of rapes of girls came to light, and there was a demand that the punishment for rape should be made capital punishment. And then every time this question arises, a counter question of whether capital punishment is really effective, is it justified, can it even be counterproductive? Some women organizations had raised the question, if the punishment for rape is capital punishment, then will this not drive the accused to somehow get rid of the victim by killing her or getting her killed so that the case may not be pursued? So there are a number of issues which arise out of capital punishment, and questions can be asked in the general studies paper, or you may get an essay. If it is in the general studies paper, you will have to basically take up a position and expand it into about 100, 200 words, whatever number is given. But in an essay, you will have to give points and counterpoints and make your essay interesting and comprehensive so that it doesn't appear to be just an expansion of a point. That is how you have to differentiate between your GS questions and your essay. An essay you can consider as a Bollywood movie. In a Bollywood movie, you know from the very beginning that the hero is going to win. And yet, so many turns and twists keep taking place that it maintains your interest right up to the end. In the same way, in an essay, especially of a type where points and counterpoints, arguments and counter-arguments are possible, you may state in the beginning itself what your point of view is going to be. And even in a case like capital punishment, there is only one point you can take, that is capital punishment either should be abolished or it should be in the rarest of rare cases, as the Honorable Supreme Court has said. Certainly, if you say that, if you justify the capital punishment in a rough manner, it's not going to create a good impression. So, in many of these issues, the stand that you should take as an aspiring bureaucrat is almost determined in the beginning itself. So, when the stand is already known, if your essay of 1,000 words is just an expansion of that stand, then it may not impress the examiner. So you have to, in a very subtle way, weave together different types of points, counterpoints. You may try to justify one point and then take the wind out of their justification. So this is how you can make your essay interesting. There are no formulas for interesting writing, just as there are no formulas for essay writing, just as there are no formulas for deciding who is a beautiful girl. You look at a girl and you say, yeah, she is beautiful. The same thing happens when an examiner sees your essay. He looks at it and says, oh, this is beautiful. Now, generally, a beautiful girl will have certain features of personality. She may have a sharp nose, she may have a good complexion, a shapely face, and all that. But when you call a girl beautiful, it is not that you first measure her nose or the shape of her face, etc. It is a general impression. So, your essay also is going to be examined based on the general impression. Just as when you go to a Bollywood movie, you know that there will be a couple of songs, you know there will be fights, you know there will be chases and all that. But it's not that you take a notebook along with you and keep ticking, okay, there are 2 fights, 3 dances, 2 chases, therefore the movie is good. In the same way, your examiner for the essay is not sitting with a checklist with him in which he keeps ticking, okay, he has given one diagram, he has discussed this issue, he has not discussed this issue, not like that. You have to make a general impression. It's more by instinct that you should write. You should learn to write by instinct. It should become a part of your thinking. You have to train your mind in such a way that it should produce good, interesting, effective writing. Now, with this in mind, first I'll give you some facts which might be useful for you for answering the GS type of questions and which you may be also fit in your essay. So what are these facts? One is capital punishment is also known as death penalty or death sentence, that you know, of course. And what is capital punishment? It is execution by the state authority for a crime after following the due process of law of that country. So what that means is, the authority which orders the execution has to be a recognized authority of the state. It is not that a rowdy gang decides to kill their rival and we can't call that as death penalty. It has to be as per the prevailing laws of that state. The prevailing laws of the land define certain offences as capital offences and prescribe death penalty as the maximum punishment for these crimes. So, even in those crimes where death penalty is given as the maximum punishment, it is not binding on the judge to give death penalty. That's what we must understand. By and large, modern societies oppose death penalty, and in India, the Honorable Supreme Court have ruled that such punishment should be given in the rarest of rare cases. However, demand for death penalty for such offences as rape of a minor often arise and become an issue for debate. The name capital comes from the Latin word capitalis, meaning head, and from the fact that in ancient Rome, death penalty was executed by beheading the person. That's how the name capital punishment comes. In the world, 106 countries have completely abolished the capital punishment, and it cannot be awarded even for the most heinous offences in those countries. In another 26 countries, although death penalty has not been formally abolished, yet as a matter of practice, it is never awarded. The United Nations General Assembly has adopted resolutions against capital punishment, but these resolutions are not binding. A number of Asian countries still award death penalty. These include China and India, the 2 most populous countries in the world. As a result, 60% of the world's population is still prone to death penalty. In China, the total number of executions in a year is higher than the executions in all other countries combined. So this is a fact list which I thought might be useful for you for attempting your GS type of question, or for even fitting into your essay. Now, what is the rationale behind capital punishment? Why did capital punishment arise at all? And why is it that it has not been abolished in so many countries? It is still being supported by a number of countries. There are three basic reasons for that. That is, there are three elements of rationale for justifying capital punishment. One is that it acts as a deterrence. So there is a belief that death of an offender will deter other potential offenders from committing that offense. Second is, there is a concept of retribution. Retribution means if somebody has done some very serious offense, then he must be punished so that the society's conscience gets assuaged. So this is assuaging the social conscience and providing a sense of justice to the victim. Supposing a person has murdered somebody's son, and if he's just allowed to go scot-free, or some sort of reformation exercise is started, then the person who lost his son gets a sense that he has been deceived by the society, he has not been given justice. We have often seen when a person who committed an offense is hanged, the victim or their family get a lot of relief. So that is a sense of getting retribution for the offense. Third is removing a bad element from the society. The argument would be, let us say a part of our body develops a cancerous growth. Then why should we live with that cancer just because it's a part of our body? Why can't we remove it so that the rest of the body is not threatened, is not destroyed by that cancer? So this is another reason. So this is the reason why, for example, the demand for execution of rapists arises, because one is deterrence. The feeling is, if the rapist is executed and this fact is known to others, then those who were likely to commit that offense will have a fear that they will also be executed. Second is retribution, that is, they'll get a sense of relief. If a girl has been raped and she comes to know that the rapist has been hanged, she'll get some sort of relief, a sense of something happening which took away her pain and agony. Then, of course, removal. If such a person is removed from the society, then he will not commit the same offense on other girls. Now, how effective are these arguments? First one is, as far as deterrence is concerned, it has been found that executions do not really cause deterrence. So, there are a number of instances where it has been, studies have also been made where it was found that there is no direct connect between executions and the prevention of offenses. So, the argument given is that it does not cause deterrence, so execution need not be used for that reason. Another very big factor is that our legal justice system, which is basically based on evidence of witnesses, can sometimes result in death sentence being awarded to a person who was innocent. And there have been actual cases like this. Execution was done or was about to be done, and then it was discovered that there was either an error of judgment or there was a deliberate attempt to manipulate things. So the argument that arose was, while in case of even life imprisonment, you can reverse the situation by at least giving him some time to live after that. Let's say a person who was given life imprisonment and it is found that that imprisonment was given wrongly, the judgment was given wrongly, you can release him, and whatever time he might have served as a sentence, at least for the remaining life he'll be able to live. But in case of death sentence, you cannot bring the person back. So the argument given is, let us not exterminate somebody's life when we are not 100% sure that our system of jurisprudence is absolutely perfect and no innocent persons will be hanged. The third argument which is given is that according to modern psychology and a lot of knowledge which has been gained now, we all know that at birth all children are alike, all infants are alike. The human brain is exactly alike. It is only during the process of learning, socialization, etc., that one person becomes a saint and another person becomes a criminal. So essentially, the fault of a person becoming a criminal does not lie on him. Earlier, it was believed that the person who is a criminal is essentially and fundamentally an evil person. He is under the influence of the Satan or devil or whatever you like to call. But now that belief no longer exists, and now it is established that an evil person is not evil because of his doings, but because of the society in which he lives. So basically, if a person is evil, we need not find fault with him. We need to find fault with our own systems of bringing up a child. So if we are at fault, then why should we punish him? Why should we not reform him? In fact, in the first place, we did not give him the type of socialization that he deserved. As a result, he became a rapist, he became a robber, he became a murderer. And now we punish him for something which is basically our fault, a fault of the society. If our society is such that it produces criminals, then we need to reform the society rather than punish the criminal for his act or for his deed. So, this argument then leads us to the idea that we need to reform people rather than punish them, rather than execute them. Now, if that is the case, then why don't we follow this reformation method? Why does the question of execution or any type of punishment for that answer, why does it arise at all? And why is it that the Honorable Supreme Court also, instead of saying you reform the murderers or offenders of heinous offenses, why did the Honorable Supreme Court talk about the rarest of rare cases? Why even those cases? The point is that our system of reformation is not adequate. First, our criminal justice system itself is not adequate. There are tremendous delays in taking up cases. There are millions of cases pending before the court. Today there is a statement by the former Chief Justice in which he says that there are thousands of cases which have been pending for more than 50 years, which means both the offender and the victim might have died by now, but the case is still pending. So the file in the court has a longer life than the life of the victim as well as the offender. In this type of a system, the law loses its teeth. Justice delayed is justice denied, as they say. Now, if a person committed an offense, let us say he raped a girl 20 years ago, and now when he is a settled married man doing well in his job, and the girl is also a married woman living somewhere happily with her husband, you now suddenly pick out that file and say, okay, this man is now punished for this. Let us say he is going to be executed for a rape committed 20 years ago. So, this entire issue of capital punishment and punishment in general is tied up with a number of other issues. The issue, for example, of how to speed up trials, how to make the trials fair, how to make it sure that trials are not determined by unconscientious lawyers and by false witnesses or witnesses who can be frightened or bought over and all that. So the issue of criminal justice system comes by the back door. Then the system of reformation is not adequate. What type of facilities do you have for reforming criminals? It's very difficult to reform a person because basically you have to reverse the entire process of socialization. You have to wipe off whatever the person had learned over the past 20, 30 years of his life, and you have to give him a different type of learning now. So what ultimately happens in our prisons is that we organize some lectures by some so-called gentle people or babas or swamis. They come, talk very well for 1 hour, but that doesn't change the person. So what we need is an extremely effective system of reformation, which requires huge amounts of funds. So there are inherent difficulties involved in building up a proper system of jurisprudence and reformation and all that. So it's not just a question of capital punishment, it is a question of reforming our entire system of justice. So I've given you a few basic hints. Now you can read about it, you can think about it, and if you wish, you can write an essay of about 1000 words, and you can send it to my email ID. I'll try my best to give it a reading, and I will try to share my views with you, if not in a private mail, at least in another video in which I will try to tell you how effectively you have expressed your arguments. I would request that in case you send me your essay, kindly mention it there that you have no objection to my using your essay for analysis in my videos, so that I can pick out examples without, of course, naming you. I can pick out the examples and use them to train my students and generally to put up on my videos, which would be of use to persons like you. Wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Every day I plan to put up a tip till your mains exams are over. So keep watching and keep sharing your views with me. If you have any questions, you can raise them. You can send them to my email ID, or you can put them up below this, in the area below this, in the comment section of this video. Thank you very much.